Ladies and gentlemen, it's 196th day of the Russian full-scale invasion, a ninth year of the Ukrainian-Russian war. I'm Andriy Shevchenko. On behalf of Mediacentru Ukraine, I would like to welcome all the journalists covering our fight for freedom. Yesterday, the UK received the new government. Elizabeth II asked Liz Truss to form her government. This will be the 15th Prime Minister in the reign of Queen Elizabeth. We plan to discuss it with Vadym Prystaiko, extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of the UK, of Ukraine to the UK. So, Your Excellency, how has the first morning been without Boris Johnson, with Liz Truss? I kept thinking, how can we do without Boris from now on? Getting aside, I don't think much has changed. Boris indeed has been an epoch in the relations between Ukraine and the UK. But we have laid the ground for us to have little worries, and now the government of Liz Truss will carry on the flag for Ukraine. Changes will happen. Liz Truss was the foreign minister. She knows what Ukraine is, what Russia is all about. She received her dose of arrogance from Russia, like many foreigners. She has made her try to look Putin in the eye and negotiate with him, and she has seen what Ukraine has known for 9 years already. Yesterday, there was a telephone conversation between Liz Truss and Ukraine President Zelensky, knowing that knowing about diplomacy, this appears to be a very powerful signal and a major achievement for the Ukrainian diplomacy. Zelensky mentioned that he heard the meaningful words about our cooperation, the future security guarantees for Ukraine, the reconstruction of our country. Importantly, the UK will remain a leader in consolidating the free world and upholding freedom. A potential visit of the new head of government of the UK was discussed. Can you give us any details? Indeed, the UK Prime Minister Liz Truss, as the other candidate, Richard Sunak, promised to make the first call to President Zelensky. This is a very symbolic move, but also it has a practical lining because the UK is very much committed to Ukraine economically, militarily, and it is a perfectly valid understanding that the UK are at the spearhead of the attack, and proportionally they are very supportive of Ukraine. The UK has coordinated and streamlined the efforts of its many. They has changed. That Ukraine remains at the forefront of priorities of the UK. This assistance will continue going strong. The current support and support for Ukraine after our victory need to be discussed, and we rely on the UK to help us out. The security guarantees, how they can be shaped, and how we can recover as a government, as a peoples, as a civilization. These matters will be on the agenda for the next year. In the upcoming conference on Ukraine's recovery will be held. The previous ones held in Lugano. The next is bound to happen in London. We are getting ready. We are holding meetings in the city with the larger businesses, financial corporations, British government to consolidate the financial support and to improve the operating conditions for businesses in Ukraine, including foreign businesses. As for security guarantees, we may have lost our partner in the EU when the UK decided to leave the EU. We have definitely have a strong and steadfast friend in the NATO. And NATO will open a new window of opportunity for us, and we are working projects to improve our cooperation with Poland and other NATO allies, and more developments will be shared when Liz Truss visits Ukraine. They talk about Liz Truss as the new Iron Lady in the British politics, and indeed, in her use of style in her statements, writing a tank in Estonia, saying she's ready to make decision to deploy nuclear weapons. She made a visit to Kyiv on the 17th of February prior to the full-scale Russian attack, which was an important signal to the world. What is your personal impression of Liz Truss as a politician and as a leader? Indeed, she represents a younger generation, the new young politicians' generation. She doesn't mince words. She can make blunt statements, which is seen by her colleagues as raising the stakes. And often she's blamed for making a reality check first. But she's evolved through the government. She's no means a novice in the British government. In her lifetime, she has changed her outlook, and this is indication of her personal growth and a quest for priorities. When the two Elizabeths met, the Elizabeth the Queen and Elizabeth the Prime Minister, we remember that she voted for the abdication of monarchy as an institute. So this is a fresh, young, vibrant politician that the British society needs. We've looked at the composition of the new government, the key positions for our cooperation, and the good news is that the Minister of Defense, Ben Wallace, is to stay. The Minister of Foreign Affairs has been James Cleverly, who has worked for Foreign Office. There is a new finance minister. So, what can you tell us about the composition of the new government? What are the challenges and opportunities for you as the representative of Ukraine? As for the British government, the British system, it had to be noted that Liz Truss has been very tolerant about her political adversaries, which are friends in her party, but vied for the top position in the British system, and many of them were given positions in the new government. She wants to keep working with them, therefore consolidating the party, consolidating the support of the party. She has separated with Richard Sunak, and those supporting him have now taken the back seat in the parliament, as they say, and will work from there. But we have the Ministry of Defense in the first row, and this is a very special person. Ben Wallace could make a very successful political career, even in a PM. Seat could be his, but he made this decision before the PM race, saying that at this difficult time, because of the war of Ukraine, he has to stay where he is. And this was highly respected by both candidates and Liz Truss, who kept him in his key position for us. James Cleverly wasn't just working for the Ministry of the Interior. He was Minister for Europe. He was responsible for Ukraine and our communication with him, whilst he was in Foreign Office, has been just the way we needed. He's our friend and ally, and he's become a foreign minister leading the entire department. This is very good news for us. There's a new Minister of Finance who has a lot in his hands, as he will be having a decisive say on sanctions. The Minister of Foreign Affairs have a decisive say, but all the financial institutions report the inputs to him. The Minister of Education formally also joined the team. We worked with them very closely when we negotiated the way Ukrainians could stay in the UK 6 months after the war. He was heavily involved. He knows the Ukrainian challenges, and he will help us seek the financial levers that we need. Liz Truss has already made a very important step, which is meaningful domestically, but also important for us. They're looking for options, how they can counter the financial attack of the Russian Federation launched through gas. There are only 2-3% of Russian gas in the British UK system, but the price hike across the world, across the entire center, has triggered a price hike in the UK on gas, on utilities, which is hitting the British people hard, and it will be a priority for the British people. So the new financial leader is developing steps to mitigate the impact, to lessen the load on the British people, therefore giving government a free rein to help Ukraine financially, militarily, etc. So this balance between the domestic needs that need to be addressed and foreign assistance to Ukraine will be maintained, and also some keys will be found to unravel the potential. We should add that Liz Truss used to take a very, very firm stance on Russian oligarchs and sanctions on them. We won't stop until Russian leader Putin is defeated. Do you still feel that she holds the same view now? She doesn't only hold this view now, it's a traditional idea of the British system overall. As a PM, she will seek ways to make her stance clear, to bring her partners in the party with her, and to bring the entire parliament or the British nation with her, in that Ukraine needs UK support. This is not a fair war against Ukraine. It has no reason. And Russia should not only retreat. Ukraine does not only need to win, but Russia has to lose. And this is seen through the prism that Russia, too, has to be given a painful time of self-awareness, of changing its focus, finding itself as a state, not an aggressor state, which is a troublemaker in the world because it cannot compete with other countries like the UK on par. So the oligarchs and the Russians who've settled in the UK, there are many, and the distinction will be made between the oligarchs hiding their stolen assets from the nation and the people who cannot exist alongside the government built by Putin, the system that he enabled. I hope the interest of the Russian, it is in the interest of Russia to do something that will enable us to coexist in the future. But for now, we need to continue exerting pressure on the oligarchs that have coalesced around Putin, and also help Ukraine, helping us in our fight financially in all the other ways. We have two major countries where I see striking bipartisan unity in favor of Ukraine, and that is the United States of America and Canada. And at the time when I had the pleasure of working at a diplomatic team with you under your lead, one of the ideas on the table was to institutionalize our cooperation with the three mighty world players of the transatlantic region, the key NATO players. If we consider a more distant future, what can Ukraine build together with the UK? We're seeing a certain consistency carried on from government to government. There is a bipartisan or all-partisan unity. What can we build in the next decade? Indeed, often we hear criticism of the European nation states, some neighbors, some governments act odd. Others see 50, 70,000 people rallying their own government to cease support to Ukraine and channel the funds for domestic troubles. The old and the new Europe is increasingly speaking in favor of Russia or just lobbying for cheap gas. So the firm stance that the UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, and the UK have taken stand out and matter greatly. We have to understand how we can follow the path of the UK, Australia, Canada through the August that has enabled the UK to build alliances outside the EU. This is the most interesting experience that we are looking into and seeking to find a place for a similar alliance in Europe between the UK and Ukraine. We're most interested in the format called, in the UK called Joint Expeditionary Force. It used to include the NATO member states and non-NATO member states, Sweden and Finland. But now with the accession of the two countries, the bloc will evolve into the NATO member states club. We are very, very interested in this format. It is very flexible in seeking a security and defense with other countries that have been blocking our progress in the alliance. So these forms that have enabled us to find the bypasses of the structure, or rather to act in addition to them. This is what we're trying to do with the UK. The experience in Africa, in India, in Asia, the existing contacts, the Five Eye Alliance joining the intelligences of Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, the US are most interesting for us. We're trying to accede to these formats. We're not part of the Commonwealth, but we remain very close to becoming uh, to speak one language with them. And that's not just about English. The last question is about Boris Johnson. He made a notable farewell with the residents, with the team, with his post, and he said the following. I am one of the accelerators. Now I am entering the atmosphere and landing in a remote part of the Pacific. It's very unlike Boris Johnson, the way we know him. When you asked, how will you remember Boris Johnson? What moment will come to mind? What image or episode will your memory evoke? I don't always have a chance to be close and understand the leader of the country where I have the honor to be accredited. And I had that opportunity when Boris Johnson was seeking means to support Ukraine. You will remember the numerous visits he made to Ukraine, the daily telephone calls he made to Ukraine, to President Zelensky, his insights in the situation driven by his experience as a former foreign minister who've been to Ukraine twice, has created a different reality, a reality apart. If earlier the visit was made in 1896 as a bipartisan visit. In the last month, he's made 3 visits to Ukraine. So I have the utmost respect to this leader who, despite the numerous challenges in the Ukraine and other countries, he made it possible to make it to Ukraine, to stand shoulder to shoulder, be a friend to President Zelensky, who he could call and ask for advice. That was vital. And that I had a chance to talk to the Prime Minister. I was able to feel it firsthand. I have my own take that he's just not just a very attractive, a charismatic leader. He's a man of an epoch, a philosophical man who sought the strength to find the right words of support and find the right missiles and right armored vehicles to support us. Without the UK's hand and support, I don't know how we would have made it in this war. Vadym Prystaiko, the extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of Ukraine to the UK, Your Excellency, thank you for this conversation. Thank you, dear friend. And I would like to ask the journalists to stay with us. In 10 minutes, I will have a brief interview with the situation at the nuclear power plant.